He's an absolute movement in the industry, folks. So a lot of you love him, you know him. He is an IM educator. He is a chairman 50 loading, chairman 100 loading, multiple seven-figure trader. He is the reason why HFX kicked off the way that it kicked off. You know, we got to watch him literally make his first million, okay, in front of the world, okay, dealing with our company. And he's proved that this system works. He is the reason for the system. So I'm so grateful that he can come on here. So he'll be able to give you a perspective, not only the chairman mindset perspective of what he's went through. This man right here has not only been at the top of multiple companies, but he's came in and really just lit the path, okay, for this industry, lit the path for IM Mastery Academy. And we're privileged to have him right here on this call, folks. You all know him, you all love him. Please bring to the stage Chairman 50 Loading, Mr. Nes Vquez, seven-figure trader. Nes Vquez, are you in the call?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me loud and clear?
Man, I got you loud and clear. First of all, I want to thank you so much for taking this last-minute call, so much for just getting ready to pour in our organization. So we thank you a lot, bro. So appreciate you.
I'm honored to be here. You know, whenever you and Wanda got something going on and you guys invite me to it, I have to say yes, you know, because you guys got that, you know, relationship with me, and you guys already know. I'm just excited to be here.
I appreciate you, Nat. So here, look, I just want to give you the mic, let you talk about your story freely, and if you can, I just look pure transparency, letting people know we got folks on here. This is a builder's call somewhat. And so letting us know your ups, your downs, you know, what did you do to push through the season to get to where you are right now? Listen, we spent some time with you. We're down in Florida, man, and you got the lifestyle. Listen, your Lamborghinis, all that. And I got to watch it unfold. Everything happened from the Maserati to the Lamborghini, the life. And I know it didn't come easy, right? You've been in the industry for some time. You've been through multiple companies, and but you stayed the course. And so I just want you to walk us through your story, maybe some emotions, you know, maybe sometimes you wanted to quit or whatever. Just tell your story, but full transparency. So, but I'm gonna give you the full mic.
I got you, Randy. So what's going on, everybody? How's everyone feeling? If you're having a good morning so far, drop those 777s in the chat. If you're having a great morning so far, first and foremost, gotta make sure the energy is all good in here. So I'm going to ask y'all for permission. Do I have your permission to keep it all the way 100 with you? Right? Because basically what the story that I'm going to go over is my raw story, and is not your traditional network marketer, trader kind of story. It's a story of just reality. It's a story of facts. It's a story of what we go through on an everyday basis to move forward, and eventually how I ended up breaking my limitations in several situations, right? So, you know, we're going to start the story off like this, right? First and foremost, just like most people, I didn't come, you know, I wasn't born with a spoon in my mouth, nothing like that. My mother had me at 14. My father was out the picture before I was even born. Basically, you know, growing up in a Puerto Rican household, it was mostly women in my family. So it's me and my uncle, who is only 2 years older than me. You know, Puerto Rican families are just built like that, right? So it was only me and my uncle were the real male figures, and we were just babies. We were young. So we growing up in a household full of women, a lot of women at that, usually about, you know, 15 to 20 people living in the same crib as me, in the Bronx, in the South Bronx. So how many of you are from New York? Type NY in the chat. If you're from the boroughs, or even if you're from upstate, type NY in the chat. So basically, you know, my story started in the South Bronx, and when I was learning how to count, I used to hear pops outside at night, and I used to count the pops. And then later on, I discovered they were just gunshots. They were always going off. Basically every other night, it was a normal thing. And so I'm 35 years old. So for any of you that in your 30s, maybe in your late 20s, you remember what the 90s was like, in your 40s, 50s, whatever, you know what the 90s was like. Everybody was still outside. This was pre-internet world. So, you know, everybody was outside. Outside was real hot. You know, it was fun. It was some good times, right? But it was also dangerous at the same time. So we're talking South Bronx, you know, early 90s, late 80s, early 90s and whatnot. So I was born in 85. But long story short, it was a different world back then. And so even though it was fun, it was also equally dangerous too. You know, I think of it now as a father, I would never want my children growing up in the environment that I grew up in. But you know, that's just the reality thing. So we had to move out where we were because there was a lot of everything there. There was a lot of you know, pimps. I said pips, right? I'm thinking forex. There was a lot of pimps, prostitution, a lot of drugs. You know, this is just crack era. It was basically in the 80s. It was just starting to fade out. It was very violent outside. A lot of gangs were being introduced to New York, a lot of the gangs from California. So, you know, at the time, they were all new gangs, all trying to prove themselves. So there was a lot of gang wars too. There was a lot of stuff going on in the Bronx, you know, especially. And so my grandmother came up with the bread, came up with the money, and basically moved us to Queens, to Jamaica, Queens. Now, it was a different environment for us at first. And then the landscape started changing real quick. Once a bunch of Spanish people started moving in, a bunch of minorities started moving in. You saw everybody that used to live in that area that we was in. They moved out. They moved out. They moved to Staten Island. They moved to Long Island. They moved to Howard Beach. They moved out. And so the landscape quickly changed. And we were basically in a similar situation that we were in the Bronx. It wasn't as much because the Bronx is a lot more congested, but it was still around. I was in between Southside Jamaica and East New York, Brooklyn. I was right on the border. So long story short, you know, growing up, my mom was on welfare. You know, we didn't have much. You know, came up on food stamps. I used to go to the store all the time with a dollar coupon. How many of you remember those coupons back before the EBT cards, the paper coupons, right? So basically I used to buy gum with a $1 coupon, right? And gum back then, like Double Mint, Spearmint, all those gums, they were 25 cents before. So I used to just buy gum only to get 3/4 so I could go and run to the arcade and you know, play with the other guys, you know, Marvel vs. Capcom, games like that, arcade games like that, and things of that nature. So that's the background that I come from. So fast forward, going through high school, I got kicked out of high school at 16 years old because I was cutting school. I didn't want to go to school. It was too dangerous, and I knew too many people in the neighborhood, and there was always stuff going on. So there'll be some times where I'll be in class and people will run through the hallways, knock on the door, yo, your cousin is getting jumped, and I'll have to go downstairs, and I'll be in the middle of brawls that I wasn't supposed to be a part of in the first place. You know, so I just didn't like going to school at all. And then it hit me once the school basically, you know, once the school basically said, hey, look, you don't have nearly enough credits to make it up by the time you're 18. So we're going to put you into a GED program, right? That was the first time when I was really thinking about my future, because I cried. I broke down in tears. I was like, what does it mean? What does it mean that I'm getting out of high school? I was cut in high school like crazy, but it didn't really dawn on me until that moment. I was like, damn, life is really real. Like, I'm literally getting kicked out of high school. How am I going to have a future? So I went into the GED program, and as soon as I turned 17, I took the next available GED test and I passed. Now it was weird because I passed February 2003, right? And all my friends that were actually going through high school and passing, right? They wasn't leaving school until the summertime. So I got out early with a GED. So I'm 17 with a GED. And I'm like, okay, well, what now? I need to get a job. So I applied for McDonald's. I applied for Burger King. I applied for all these fast food restaurants, right? McDonald's told me you can't have it your way. They would rather hire a 20-year-old with a high school diploma than hire a 17-year-old with a GED, right? The Burger King, same thing, right? It was just kind of hard for me to find jobs. But then my grandmother came across an Army recruiter, right? And so the Army recruiter came to the house. Was like, hey, look, you know, you're out of school right now. You got your GED, you're 17, join the Army and you could have money for college. Now, I didn't know at the time that I could qualify for financial aid. I didn't know about any of those hacks because I didn't have those figures in my life that actually, you know, passed high school, you know, went into college and could give me the sauce. Like, hey, look, you can apply for this grant, you get this, you get it. nobody put me on game, right? Like that, right? And I was mostly a street kid for the most part. And so I was like, all right, well, I'll join the army, if that means I could, I could get school. And originally what I wanted to be was a music producer. I wanted to be like a Swiss Beats. I wanted to be, like a Young Chop. I wanted to be 808 Mellow. I wanted to be a producer, a music producer, just make beats all day and just, do my thing. And to join the school that I wanted to be a part of, it was called Institute of Audio Research in Manhattan. I needed to actually, you can have financial aid, but you still have to come up with the bread to pay for the rest of the tuition. So I was like, damn, you know what? Let me join the army. And I asked the recruiter, all right, what is the least amount of time I could sign up for? And there was rumors at the time, they lowered it to 3 years or whatever. So I was like, okay, I'll take that. And I had a choice, either 6 years in South Korea or I could do a year and a half in Germany and then station somewhere else. So I chose to do the 3-year plan, and I chose Germany as one of my as where I would like to go if I go overseas. So I was able to make that choice based on MOS. So MOS is basically the job that you have when you're in the army. And I was an ammunition specialist. That's what I chose to be. So I enlisted in the military. I was going through boot camp, went through the trainings or whatever, and it was a complete culture shock, right? Because I'm the kind of lifestyle that I'm used to. I wasn't used to it when I joined the army. So the army quickly made me a man. It quickly made me a man. I was side by side with people in their 40s, side by side with people that were older than me in their 20s. I was 17, at the time when I enlisted in the army back in 2003. And in that time, we were it was like the height of the war on terror. So we were in Afghanistan. We was also in Iraq. And it was just kind of hot in that time in 2003. So anyway, after I enlisted, I went through training. I got stationed in Germany, right? Now, if you are a U.S. soldier in another country, what they don't tell you is whenever you step off of the military post, right? A lot of people are friendly, but there's some groups that absolutely hate Americans, but nobody really told me about that, right? So, there would be this one club that I will go to every weekend with the rest of everyone else because I didn't know anything. And out there in Germany, at the age of 16, you got the privileges of a 21-year-old. Out there at the time. I don't know what it's like right now. So anyway, I was always clubbing because to me it was new. It was new, it was hot. I'm around all these adults. I'm feeling like, a grown man or whatever, and at the time, 17, turning 18, whatever. Now, long story short, I'll just keep it real brief. I got jumped by 8 guys, by eight German citizens, Europeans. It was mixed groups, Turkish, all that, whatever. Anyway, I got jumped by 8 guys, right? And whenever I would walk in the economy, just like New York, I'll have a pocket knife on me. Long story short, I got jumped by 8 guys. It was getting to a point where I felt my life was in danger, defending myself, whatever, right? Now, what ends up happening is I'm now sitting in the military prison cell, right? And I get court-martialed, dishonorable discharge, 3 years military prison, right? So that was basically, that took from 18 to 21. So those years, right, that was supposed to be like pivotal years for me, growing into adulthood. Guess what? I didn't really get to enjoy it, right? And so at 21, I come home, right? And everyone that was looking up to me because I joined the army, they're like, oh my God, he's changing his life, whatever. When I came home, I was the loser again. I was the loser all over again. I was once again the black sheep of my family. And I was wondering, okay, what can I do, right, to elevate my life? Because this does not define me at all. And so I went back to work. Luckily, I was able to find some jobs. I worked in Staples. I worked in Comp USA. At the time, they no longer exist. But I was working retail, and I didn't know anything about retail. Matter of fact, I didn't really know much about computers. I was sitting in a cell for 3 years. So when I came home, I didn't know anything. The only thing I knew is what they trained me on, and I put a lot of energy behind it. It didn't take me long. It took me about 2 weeks to become the number one sales rep in Staples. I was selling protection plans on flash drives. I didn't even know. I didn't know anything. They just said sell these protection plans and you'll get extra commission. I said say less, right? So I will oversell the hell out of protection plans off of flash drives. Right? Who does that? You can't really, like, if your flash drive is broken, you can't get those back. But I didn't know that at the time. So I was going in. I was saying, yeah, this will protect you. Whatever you save in here, right? They'll repair it and everything. I didn't know any better, right? But it didn't take me long. All I did was I put a lot of energy. I just really wanted to focus. Now it got to a point, and now we're going to get to the entrepreneurship part of this, right? It got to a point where I'm like, damn, every time, I'm selling a computer or a laptop, I got to put all these add-ons or else my manager's going to get on me. I got to sell these softwares. I got to add a printer. I got to do all this stuff, or else if I sell a regular laptop with nothing else, I'm going to be frowned upon. So, as time went on, I'm like, damn, we're selling these softwares. I'm looking at all these different softwares that we're selling, Microsoft Office and everything else. And I'm like, what the hell? I look in the system and I see that the cost of manufacturing is like less than $10, but yet we're selling these softwares for like $200. I'm like, damn, that's a crazy margin. I'm like, damn, people are really making money over here. I sell a software, everybody is caking, but I'm only getting paid $8 an hour at the time. I'm like, nah, there's something wrong with this. And then I remember the general manager telling me, oh, here at Staples, there's a lot of room for growth. And I'm just looking at his office that looks like a closet. And I'm like, nah, son, like, nah, this, this can't be life. I cannot be this guy. There's no way. I like him. That's my dude, right? But there's no way in the hell I'm going to grow to working out of a closet. That is not happening, right? So I was like, all right, what do I do now? Because I don't really have much choices. So then I was looking at the Easy Tech services, like it's kind of like a Geek Squad, right? So I was looking at how much they're charging people for services. And I knew one of my friends who fixes computers. He got his, all his certifications, whatever. And I'm like, yo, you know what I could do is I could sell these same services that I'm already selling, right, for less, right? And I could split it 50-50 with my guy, right? And so before you knew it, I was already thinking like a business owner, already thinking as an entrepreneur, because something didn't felt right with me being, constricted to a job, which one day, if I keep doing, I end up working out of a closet. I'm like, yo, I say, yo, I need to get to these bags, and then that partnership didn't work out because I'm over here, selling what this guy could do, and then he's over here getting lazy on me, right? So I'm like, nah, bro. I'm like, all right, something has to give. Now, what ends up happening is I do really well in that location, right? But I wanted something different. So I ended up going back to college. So remember, I was locked up from 18 to 21, right? I was working retail jobs, just only retail jobs from 21 to 23. 23, I decided to go back to school, right?
You're muted. I'm muted. Yeah.
All right. This time, I do go back to school, but I'm 23 years old. So when I come in to school, I feel like a senior citizen because everybody's like 18 years old, 19 years old. And I'm like, damn, they looking at me like, no, who is this grown man, in this classroom right now? And then it's crazy. So while I was in school, right, it's not like I had anybody paying my bills for me. I still had to work, right? And then I ended up taking a second job at the same time with my uncle who had a production company. So he was set up, all the lights, all the staging for all types of artists, all types of performers, he did Eminem and Jay-Z's. He did one of Eminem and Jay-Z's stops on their tour that they did together way back then. And it was a Yankee Stadium. It was crazy. So he did that. I actually worked on that gig too. So he would always, have all these high level production gigs lined up. and he owned the business. He partially owned the business with an older guy who's been doing it for years. So I was like, all right, you know what? Let me just work for them. And so the rate was what was my rate? My rate was I get paid only 4 hours, and I would get paid I think it was like $100, something like that. I forgot the math, but basically I would get paid based off of 4 hours worth of work. So $100 for 4 hours. I think it was something like that. And if we got the job done in 2 hours, we still get paid for 4 hours. That's how it worked in that line of business, right? So it was a quick come up. So whenever there was a gig available for me, and I wasn't in school and I wasn't working in Staples, then I'll just take it. I'll take whatever. And there was some times where I would take double shifts because I don't know when the next production gig was going to be lined up. So there will be some times where I go to school in the morning real tired. So I had literally just got out of work doing a long shift. So literally in the middle of the night, I go to school and I'm waiting until school opens, and then I take the first class, and I'm so crashed and tired or whatever. Then I thought to myself, damn, I'm doing too much. I don't know what's going on out here, but I'm doing way too much. Luckily, I was able to go through school. And then join a Made in New York program, which helped me land internship, which eventually led to paid gigs in TV and film production instead of events productions. So I was doing events productions and TV film production work, and I got out of school because that was basically why I got into school for. My major was TV and film. So I finally, got into the industry, and I feel good. I feel successful and all that. But in TV and film production, what they don't tell you is minimum you're working 16 hours a day. Minimum you're working 16 hours a day whenever you book on a gig, right? Your pay rate is based on 12 hours. They call it a day rate, right? So what I would notice is if you did the math, right? I was a production assistant. If you did the math, right, and you divided, how much are you getting per hour based on 16 hours, it actually comes up to minimum wage. So I'm like, what the fuck, man? Excuse my language. I was like, bro, I'm over here. I go to school, I do my thing, right? I'm booked. Now I'm working. I'm working in the industry I always wanted to be a part of as a production assistant. You realize the real money, all right, is being producer. The real money is being the actual director because you're with talent. Being with talent, which are all the actors, assistant director, they get paid good money. They get paid like $2,000 a gig. So you're a PA and you're basically working minimum wage when you do the math, right? And you look at it, you're like, damn. Well, today is different because in New York, $15 is minimum wage. But back then, minimum wage was still about $8, $9. It was starting to creep up a little bit. So at the time, imagine what I'm pulling in. It's almost nothing, Then finally, I started to get booked on gigs, but as a different role. So I would work with the set dressers. I would work as an audio assistant. I would work different things. So I would get paid a little different based on what I was doing. And so basically, as time went on, I started to get paid a little bit more, and it started to get a little better to a point where I was making about $2,000 a week if I was booked on at least 5 days a week. And that was where I wanted to be, right? Now, here's the thing. When I landed a gig, right, production wasn't done. And if you're a PA, you're the first one on set and the last one to leave set. So we had a very long day and we were short staffed. So we couldn't leave until the middle of the night. Now, I had about 6 hours to go home, right? And that day I actually drove to the Bronx, right? From Manhattan to the Bronx, it took me like 2 hours because of traffic, right? I literally slept in my car, right? And then I had to go right back to work, which I knew was going to take me another 2 hours to get back to work because it was that kind of day. It was like I had a late shift and then I had an early shift and I had no control of it because I wasn't the boss. And the boss wasn't having it, right? So when I got there, I literally couldn't do it. I almost crashed. I was sleeping on the road, like I was dozing off. And when I open my eyes, I'll be like going into another lane. Like, look, if you ever drove while sleeping, it's just as bad as drinking and driving. it is maybe worse when you're sleeping while driving. That is crazy. So when I got there, I said, I can't do it. I can't do it. You know, and my boss acted like he was understanding. He was like, okay, I understand, whatever. Never got called again. I was like, damn. But in that time, one of my friends, right, called me. He said, yo, I got something I want to show you. And he kept texting me that before in the past. I'm like, man, just tell me already. Just something. But he had to keep it quiet, right? Because in that we're marketing, right? The invitation is not the explanation. So he just kept telling me, he was like, yo, I got something I want to show you. I'm like, what is it? Why can't you tell me? All right, look, you know, come meet me over here at this address. So I pull up to that address. It's in Brooklyn. I go in the house, right? And the guy speaking ends up becoming a 7-figure earner in the industry years later, whatever. But I'm there and I'm seeing a bunch of, you know, look, I'm Puerto Rican, I'm Spanish, right? So we in the hood. I go into this apartment in Brooklyn, right? And all you see is a bunch of Puerto Ricans and Dominicans, and they all happy, like, hey, welcome, welcome, right? And in my mind, I'm like, yo, what is going on over here? This is weird, bro. Because usually everyone in New York, they're trained to be like, what's up? You know, they trained to be antisocial. They trained to, you know, we're trained to like only be with our own. So when I come in through the door and I'm seeing people sitting on the floor on some hippie shit, and I'm like, yo, what's going on over here? I'm like, yo, my heart was racing because I didn't know what was going on. I'm over here sitting in the back, and everyone's looking so weird to me, and I'm like, yo, what is this? They're gonna hypnotize me or something? I was thinking the most craziest things because I'm like, what is going on here? I've never seen anything like this before in my life, right? And then the presentation started, and then the guy asked, he goes, if you hit the lottery right now, what would be the first thing you would do with the money? Right? So that everybody was giving their answer. My answer was, I would travel the world, right? And I didn't know it was a travel presentation at all, but it was a travel presentation. So then, you know, he's going through it. And then I learned about residual income. Now, I'm 26 years old at the time, and I never heard of residual income in my life. I had a hard life and I never heard of residual income. So when I looked at that, I was like, wait a second, you mean to tell me that if I do that, if I get those numbers, I could continue to get paid based on that? It was like, yeah. I'm like, how does this exist? Why is not everybody trying to do this? This is a dream. Like, no way. I could work to get to this point and get paid based on my past efforts. Bro, sign me up, right? And I'm looking at everyone and they're not moving. They're not like excited about it. But me, I'm like, yo, this is freedom. Right? So I didn't know what I was doing. And, you know, the way I grew up is, you know, I have a really big family. I really only just kept to my family and just a few close friends, right? I had neighbors that been neighbors of mine for years, and not even one say hi to me, or I never said hi to them, because that's just the way it was in my hood, right? So if you're from New York, you know what I mean, right? Type 718 in the chat if you know exactly what I'm talking about. You can have neighbors that been your neighbors for like 5, 6 years, 10 years, whatever, and they won't say a word to you. You won't say a word to them because that's just, it is what it is. You know, you stay over there, I stay over here, we mind our business, you know, no problems, right? I'm pretty sure Chicago is the same way, right? So you know, so now I had to learn to be social. I had to learn, right, to connect with other people, which was weird to me because my whole life I was taught a different way of life. Like, yo, you know, let them do them, we do us. That's it, right? So now I had to be social, and now I'm calling these people up and like, yo, you know, I got to show you something, whatever. And everyone knew me as the black sheep, the mess up, right? The one who was always effing up, you know. And I was on foot, you know, walking the streets. I knew everybody from all the way from Ozone Park to East New York to Bushwick. Everybody knew me, you know, at the time, as I was always outside. I was involved in all types of things, street basketball teams, baseball teams. I was always involved in different things. So people would know me, or like a lot of people my age would know me. And so it's crazy because my lovely future wife to be, right? Her older brothers, I used to play ball with them after school all the time. So, we would go to PS7 in East New York in the backyard, in the back part of the school where there was like 2 full courts, and we would just ball all day, all night, right? I didn't know that they were her older brothers. I didn't even know they had a sister until a couple of years ago. So pleasant surprise. But it was wild at the time. So anyway, residual income, right? The first year, right? I was trying to figure out how can I just get my freaking first 4, right? How can I just get my first 4 enrollments? What I realized was this, right? When I started to get more enrollments, it was because I understood other people and I was understanding myself more. I was really working on my mindset without even realizing it. I was paying for these events. And just like everyone else, I question, why am I always paying for these events and I got no money coming in? Type $ in the chat if you understand what I'm talking about. I'm paying for all these events, right? These books, these audios. Where's the money, bro? Where's the money, right? And so I had to understand that really I'm making an investment to get my mind right, to get my inner faculties right, right? So once I took the colors training, which I know Randy and Wanda, have been teaching you or is going to teach you. Once I took the colors training, I realized, hey, what motivates me doesn't motivate you. What motivates me may not be the motivator for the next person. Some people are money motivated. I was money motivated, right? But other people really want to make an impact in others' lives. Money is not really a big deal to them, right? Other people just want to have a whole lot of fun, and other people just want to make wise investments for their future sake, right? So basically, I had to understand what motivates me, what motivates someone else. So my approach was like, yo, you want to make a bunch of money? Come on, let's go. Let me show you this, right? But not everyone is reds like that. I was red. I'm still a red, right? I just took the colors training like 2 months ago. I'm a red blue, So my primary color red. Now I was money motivated, but once I understood myself, I understood others, then it was different. If I knew that there was a yellow, I would tell them, hey, wouldn't you like to be a part of a growing family that's making a positive impact worldwide? And then just it's not what you say, it's how you say it, right? Basically, I'm telling them, hey, you want to check something out, right? But it's the delivery, right? And that made all the difference. I was enrolling people like crazy. I grew to like 100 people, that month. I started elevating, whatever. And then as time went on, I was paying for these events, yes, but I was bringing people to these events with me. And the information that was shared, it may hit me one way, or it may not have no effect on me because I already heard the same thing over and over again. But a couple little things made all the difference for me. And the full blast of information that you'll get from all these events, remember, the next person didn't hear what you heard, right? So then it impacts them differently. And it gets to a point where people literally, are literally relentless in building this business because the information hits them a little different. You got to understand that you are you and everyone else is everyone else, right? So you may not like, a certain leader in your organization, maybe your P2000 leader, whatever, right? It doesn't matter. However, the people that you enroll for some reason likes that person. See, there's something for everybody here in this business, and you have to learn to embrace. This is what I had to learn. I had to learn to embrace the reality that things hit different for different people, period. And not everybody's motivated by the same thing. Once I got that and I started to embrace it, I just started moving forward. And now it really became about showing the plan and being mindful of how I share the plan with different people. So this is what I ask people. I ask people the same question that was asked me, when I first saw this industry, when I first got introduced to this industry. And that is, before I even show a presentation, right? If it's a live event, right? I would tell people, what would you do more if you had more? If you won the lottery today, what would be the first thing you would do with the money? Their first response is going to give off their color. So if someone says, "Oh man, if I hit the lottery right now, I'm gonna go get the Lamborghini," I'm gonna go get a Rolls Royce race. I'm gonna go. I know that they're red. If someone says, I'm gonna travel the world, I'm gonna have fun, whatever, I know that they're blue. If they say, you know, I would donate to charities, I would donate to my church, I would buy a house for my mom, for my family, I know that they're yellow, right? And if they say, well, I'll just make some wise investments, right? I know that they're green, right? So now, in different parts of my presentation, I'm going to look at people, all right, based on what I feel that they are, right? So when we get to a point about creating a global impact, I make eye contact with the person that wants to make a positive impact in people's lives. When I talk about how much fun we can have, I'm looking at the blues. When we're talking about, you know, basically what we could do, living the life, you know, at the highest level, I'm looking at the reds. And when it comes to just making wise investments, you know, just putting a little bit in and getting a big return later in life, right? Because reds, they want money right now. They want fast cash, but greens, they want to create wealth, right? So you got to speak the languages of all the different personality types. And once you start doing that, you're going to start getting more conversions, right? You're going to start getting more conversions into the business. That's the cleaning service, guys. So, you know, sorry for the background noise. So long story short, what motivates you may not motivate someone else. You have to learn other people's personality. Now, as time went on, I finally was able to elevate myself. New doors were opening and all that stuff. So my residual income, finally, the money started coming in. This is the part that y'all want to hear. The money finally started coming in, but it was already at a point where I invested a lot of money. I invested a lot of energy. And once I cracked the code, it was over, right? Somebody right now, Randy, Wanda, they could give you all the sauce. But by the time you go to sleep, you completely rearrange everything they said because you take their information in, all right, with your own level of understanding at that time, right? You ever read a book before, right? And then you reread that same book, but the second time it hits you different? Have that ever happened to you? It's the same thing when we go through trainings. It's the same thing, right? When we hear our same mentor speak, there's going to be something that hits you different the next go around. And if it isn't, and you have somebody else rocking with you, it's going to hit them full blast, right? So that's what you got to understand. This is not an addition game. It's actually a multiplication game. Sharing the business is like planting seeds. Plant as many seeds as you can. Some seeds are going to fall on rocky soil. So it's going to be a dub from the beginning, right? Some people are going to entertain a little bit and like, okay, I'll look into it, right? But do nothing with it. So they don't sprout much, right? Other people, guess what? They're going to sprout a little bit more, right? They're going to elevate a little bit more, all right, than there were at a point when you first introduced them to the business. And you know what? That's good enough. You know, you help them understand something better. Now they can make better choices and eventually live a better life. But some people, they do it big, and that's because they want it. They want it because they understand in order for them to make a global impact, they have to become more. In order for them to help people elevate from level 1, they have to be at level 2. And if they want to help people elevate to level 2, they have to be at level 3, right? Right? So that's something you got to understand. All the investments that you've been making, right? Your time investment and the money investments that you've been making, trust me, it's going to all pay out. Now, this is what happens. It happened to me too. You could get all the information in, right? And it hits you different each time. You can be motivated. You can be inspired, right? But then it gets to a part when you start taking action. Once you get to the part where you're finally, ready to take action, right? Then the money is going to start coming in little by little. But then once you start taking massive action, boom, then the money is going to start coming in for real, for real. And remember, what you do today, right? Whatever you do today, you're going to get paid for it 3 months from now. Because that's just how it is. We're planting seeds. We're planting seeds, right? Type 1 in the chat if you understand what I'm saying. We're planting seeds right now. We're planting seeds right now. Right? So keep in mind that you're creating wealth. It's different. is different. You're working full-time on your jobs, part-time on your fortune, right? Don't let anybody down jobs, right? Because let me tell you something. The people with jobs are the ones who pay the subscription every single month, right? So embrace the fact that you're working full-time on your job, part-time on your fortune. Your full-time job is giving you the oil you need for your business machine and your trading machine, because trading is a business too. So your job is going to help fund both your businesses, your business and your trading, right? Now, what I love about residuals, okay? Now, it got to a point where I was making residual income. Then I elevated to 6 figures. I became a 6-figure earner in 2014, all right, in the industry. 2015, I was elevated some more. 2016, I started to actually take trading seriously. I really wanted to learn to trade because my team was like, oh, you're just a builder. You're not a trader. I had a bunch of people leave my team because I told them I'm just a straight up builder. I don't care about trading, right? And I didn't know the kind of effect it was going to have until it got to a point where I lost a lot of people to this company, right? Because I was in another trading company before and they were not good at Forex. So I had to learn to trade Forex on my own so I can give my team the sauce, because that company that I was in, the Forex was trash. They were stock traders. They weren't Forex traders. So when they tried Forex, they were trash at it. So I was learning how to trade Forex. And so my style of trading Forex at the time was I would do higher lot sizes, right? Higher lot sizes, and I would aim for at least 10 pips, right? It was 7 to 12 pips. That was basically my sweet spot. If I saw that I made a $20 profit in the trade, I'll pull that thing out real quick. So I had a bunch of 20, 100 as time went on, whatever, and I would just pull out. And I was using my simple scalper strategy at the time, right? Now check this out. So my friend, Jonathan Lopez, and some of you know Nick Gomez of DCX, they were my roommates in Miami at one point because, I had elevated. I was at 6 figures. I wanted to link up with other young 6-figure earners. We really wanted to get to 7 figures together and whatnot. So they had large teams in Spanish countries, like in the Latin American countries. So they were doing binary options, right? So Nick showed me binaries. He goes, look, 1 minute I could just get in and out of a trade. I said, what? And then Jonathan told me the same thing. Oh, what are you doing over there? Scalping Forex is cute, but look at this. So then I saw what they were doing. I was like, bro, I'm going to stay quiet for a while. I'm going to get this right, right? And what ended up happening is there was business challenges that were happening, right? And so long story short, the last company did me very wrong. They took an entire organization out of my team and fed it to someone in my upline. I couldn't believe it. So I had 2 legs. I went from a 6-figure, all right, residual income to nothing, like this. I called them up and I said, yo, you got 3 days to fix this or I'm going to IML, right? They thought I was bluffing, whatever. What ends up happening, I end up on the phone with Chris Terry. Chris is like, you're Nes? I go, yeah, this is Nes from New York. He goes, this is Chris Terry. He goes, Nes, I've been watching your videos on YouTube since 2013, since you were in Wake Up Now. And I was like, what? Really? You so you know who I am? He goes, yeah, I'm a big fan of yours. And I was like, well, I'm a fan of you too. I know you're from the Bronx. And he goes, yeah, I am. And I was like, oh man, that's cool. He goes, tell you what, Nes, how about I'll take you on a flight. I'll pay for your first class flight from New York to Vegas. Come meet with me personally. I'm gonna show you what IML is about. So I flew to Vegas, right? And when Chris Terry showed me swipe trades, I couldn't believe it. I'm like, what? This is like Tinder for trading. This is different. And once I heard where Chris Terry's mindset was, I was like, this is going to be like the Amazon of trading. I couldn't believe it. Where his mind was at, I was like, man, I got to get in, right? So then I end up getting started. But he didn't know I was trading binary like that, whatever. So I came on because he was more interested in me as a builder, right? Long story short, it didn't quite work out with my upline at the time. He convinced me to put my entire organization that I was bringing in from another company into one line. And long story short, it just didn't work out whatsoever. And whenever I asked for help, I was getting dubbed. It got to a point where it was really bad. And there's other stories involved. But anyway, long story short, I was like, man, I'm gonna have to sit out for 6 months. I'm gonna have to sit out for 6 months. So that's what I did. And when I sat out for 6 months, I went to, some of you guys know, Manny Quinones, Lizardo Tavares. They've been my boys from the travel company. So we were grinding together since 2012, and this is now 2018. So it's 2018, and those are my brothers. We gone through it. We gone through a lot together, in so many different levels. And of course, we have a large group of friends who we're all mutual friends together, growing into this industry and whatnot. So I was like, you know what? I was with a millionaire mentor, and the dude just straight up, he dropped the ball on me. I'm ready to come in. I'm ready to work. At the time, Lizardo was only a P1000, and so is Manny Quinones. They were only P1000s. And so I know I'm a multi-six-figure earner, right? Lizardo, he used to be Lizardo and Manny. We used to be business partners before. So I was like, you know what? I don't care what rank they are. I don't care what rank they are. I want to work with my people that I've been working with from the slums, from the bottom. I'd rather elevate with them, than work with a 7-figure earner, right, who treats people like crap, right? So I said, all right. I said, look, Manny, this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna bring binary into the mix. Look, man, I don't know what binary is, but it doesn't matter. Come in, let's rock this, man. Let's knock this out of the park. I said, all right, cool. I started the binary option Zooms, right? And it started to become a hit because nobody really knew what it was, and people were making money. And it got to a point where my Zoom calls were always maxed out. I had to always level up my Zooms. I don't know if anybody remember that, right? But basically, I was running these Zooms like crazy, and then we started to get the attention from the company, and what's crazy is that because I came from another company, right? I'm not gonna say names or whatever, but there were people in the corporate side of things in this company that was like, Ness, you got to watch it for him. I was telling Manny, like we don't trust Ness. We don't want him to gain too much power too quick, whatever. We don't trust him. But they could trust me because, the other people, they did me so wrong. And all I wanted to do is just level up this company as a whole, right? And Manny's team and Lizardo's team. So I was like, all right, look, it's cool. I'm going to show them through my work, right? September 2018, I finally get the approval to become an IML educator. And my account had already hit 100K, my trading account, right? And people seen the growth. They seen the growth they seen it. They seen the growth, right? From 12 to 20, from 20 to 30. When I went from, when I went from like 12 to 20K, one of the videos was caught, and I had my son. He was only a couple of months old. My son Jackson. I had him out. I was carrying him and trading with one hand. And that video, I titled it "Trading for Dads." Trading for dads, right? So that video started to get some attention. I had to take down a lot of YouTube videos. Compliance made me take down so much stuff, right? Because I had now became an educator. So forget it. Now I have to hide my success. You know what I'm saying? For compliance purposes. But people saw my journey from 15 to 20, from 20. Oh my God. I really wish y'all was in this company when I had just became an educator, because y'all would have seen the rise, man. Y'all would have saw the 30 going to 40, the 40 going to 50, the 50. Who said that? Randy saw it. Randy saw it. The 50 to 60, the 60 to 70, 70 to 80, 80 to 90, 90 to 100K. And finally at 100K, I was able to be an IML educator. I had to work my way there. I had to prove myself that I was the real deal. Twice they had to check my documentation and transactions history. I had to send them the paperwork twice. I had to prove myself more than anybody else had to, right? But you know what? It was cool because I was on the team with them. I wanted to prove to them, like, yo, I'm Ness of IML. I am Ness at the time it was IML. Now it's IM Academy. But at the time, I wanted everyone to know this is Nes of IML. I am here. I'm all in. My flag is planted. I am here. I'm rocking out. Right. So then, people finally saw the elevation. But check this out. Right. September 2018, 100K trading account. Right. By December 21st, I hit my year goal of 500K. It ain't over. It still to this day, by a percentage, I haven't beat what I've done in the last quarter of 2018 from a percentage standpoint, right? Because 100K, right? September 2018, December 21st, 500K. 10 days later, from 500K to 700K. And that is when it caused shockwaves where everybody, all the chairmen, all the educators, and everyone was talking about it. It got to Chris Terry's ears, and then Chris Terry called me back. He goes, Nes, everybody is telling me about what you are doing. Everyone is telling me about your elevation as a trader. I can't believe it. It's causing shockwaves. We need to put out a platform together to show people how to trade binary options like you. And I said, Chris, I told you I was going to make you proud. I told you I was going to make you proud. Right. And then he was like, okay, look, this is what we're going to do. You're going to fly out to Salt Lake City. You're going to meet with one of the programmers. You're gonna give them your rules and the strategies, all that. We're gonna put together the algorithm, the system, whatever. And so I flew out to Salt Lake City, right? This was like mid-January, whatever. I was there for a few days, right? I was there for a few days, and I went through all the rules of my 3 strategies, which is simple scalper, web slinger, and pickpocket. And basically, I stood there, working diligently, like up for a long time, while at the same time still running my calls to build the business or whatever. And then that night when I flew back, the flight got delayed, and I'm coming from Salt Lake City, Utah to New York, right? And Manny Q and we were doing presentations together, and so I had flown in late, and I was like, damn, I didn't make it on time for the presentation, whatever, right? But at this time, I'm only 7,000 away from all my accounts in total, from $1 million, because I had built it. Still, I was trading at the same time and everything, and I had to trade in front of the programmer so he could know that my strategies work. So I was trading hard while doing the programming stuff, while building the business, right? And I was still coming up crazy. So when I had landed in New York, I was only 7K shy of crossing $1 million officially as a trader, right? Now, when I get there, right, it's so freaking late. I took the Uber from JFK. I was like, man, I was so mad. This guy over here talking to me, his whole life story, and I'm like over here upset. I'm like, damn, Manny is probably so upset right now, and I don't want to make him look stupid. So I get there. It turns out the presentation didn't even started because the place had double booked that same presentation room. So luckily, when I got there, the presentation didn't even start yet. So then I told Manny, I said, yo, Manny, I said, tonight might be the night where I crack 1 mil. And I started telling everybody, I'm like, look, tonight might be the night. Tonight might be the night. And there were people there. So then I go and I had everyone ready, the Instagram lives ready, all the video, like everybody recording with their cell phone ready and whatever. And so I'm looking at the chart. It's taking a long time. I'm not really seeing the opportunity. And I'm like, all right, okay, I'm going to take a chance in this sell. I'm not really confident in it like that.
Let's go, let's go, let's go. All right, guys, that's it. That's our call for the day. Listen, it's your time. Make a decision. It doesn't matter when you start. It's just time to start. So once again, thank you, Nes, for being on our call. Appreciate you, much homage. And let's get it, folks. It's time to go chairman. See you guys at the top because the bottom is way too crowded. Let's go.